Okay, so hi everyone, thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartley here with another episode of Presenting Champions. Today, joined by a very special guest. It is the rebel of bare knuckle boxing, Martin Reffell, who is coming off a cracking fight. I mean, what can I say? One of the best fights we've seen in a long time with Scott McHugh for the British bantamweight title. Late notice replacement, I believe. We'll get into the story of the fight now. He's healing up. Okay, we'll talk about that. But before we get into any of the fight talk and the exciting stuff, once again, big thank you for coming on the show, mate. It's really great to have you with us today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Awesome. Okay. So, like I was saying to you just now, before we started talking and before we get into it, obviously it looks like your healing is going okay at the moment. I mean, it looks like you're healing up okay. Talk us through how you're feeling after the fight, and then we'll go back and talk about the fight itself.
I'm still buzzing from the fight. To be fair, what a fight it was to grace the ring with somebody like Scott on such short notice. Being my third fight, I was kind of honoured and a bit starstruck at first because I followed Scott before I started fighting. So it was. I'm feeling good.
Feeling good and healing up well. Amazing.
Yeah,
Obviously,
slightly.
oh yeah, yeah, it is on the right track. That's good. That's good. And how's the finger as well? Because that looks a little bit.
So I got a fracture in the left hand on the pinky. And then I got a fracture on the right hand, but I've just had to wash my bandage because I work, so it's all filthy. But I got a fracture on this finger, the ring finger on the right hand.
Yeah, yeah. Well, as long as you're on the mend, that's the main thing. But it's one of the toughest sports in the world. So, talking about the fight itself, obviously people are going to want to hear about this. As you say, only your third fight, massive opportunity, massive show, obviously for the British title. Good things all around, really. And I know, obviously, the fight didn't go your way in the end, but everyone was saying it was one of the best fights of the night. I agree with that, if not the best, but certainly one of them, and it was absolute barn burner. So, walk us through your memories of the fight, and this can be anything, including obviously the build up with late notice and everything like that, and what you remember most about it, and just what you'd like to share with the fans. I'm not honing in on a particular round or a particular thing like that because you were in the ring, not me. So I just want to hear about the fight in your own words, really. That would be awesome.
Well, just when I got told about it, I didn't have the time to have nerves, so I got nervous on the night. I remember feeling nervous, and then my walkout tune came on, and I felt confident. I feel at home in the ring. Um, and then when he got in, he's a tough looking guy, and he's a scary looking guy as well. And I stood across the ring, and I just thought to myself, right, I know what I need to do here. I've got to take the fight to him. I've got to give him everything I've got. And that's what I plan to do. So as soon as the bell went, we touched hands, and I just had to give everything. I had to make a stand and say, right, you're not controlling this fight. I'm going to bring the fight to you. I'm going to give everything I've got. And I remember in the second round, my my hand went, my left hand, because I kept getting told by my coach, jab, double jab, right hand. Um, and my left hand went in, my left knuckles went in the second round, and every time I was catching him with a jab, it was sending shocks through my body. So I had to kind of let the jab go and keep trying to throw the right. But being in the ring with him, it's brilliant because at one point he goes, "Oh, you like that right hand?" And it felt like we're, you know, both of us smiling, and yeah, we both loved being in that ring. I think.
Yeah, it is. It was amazing. All action as well. I've got to say, just to cut in there, all action from beginning to end. And you say about giving it your all. You definitely did. Talk to us a little bit about like the atmosphere on the night as well. Obviously, people who were there in person will know all about that, and you can sort of see it a bit from the videos. But again, in your own words, like the vibe of being in a big arena like that, because the reason I ask this, obviously, you haven't been in a sport long, but you're at this high level already. Fighting in these big arenas. So, what was the atmosphere like on the night? Was it? I bet it was amazing.
Oh, the atmosphere is ecstatic. Like everybody's buzzing, everybody's having a good time. It's lively. I don't know. It just gives you that buzz, that feeling that you're meant to be there. And backstage, everybody's quite respectful as well. It's like a little family back there, even though we're there to beat the crap out of each other. It's quite chilled at the back. But yeah, like it was brilliant. Like the lights, the music, everybody around. It just gives you that sense of belonging. Like I belong in BKB, um, and I'm going to prove it even more as time goes on. But yeah, it's just one of those things that you just feel comfortable at. It's
Yeah,
electric.
absolutely. Electric, yeah, and you obviously feel at home in there. That does sort of come over. Obviously, one of the things to get into here, as well as this last fight, is your overall BKB journey so far. Now, we will talk about the future, we'll talk about the past, we'll do a
Yeah,
mix of stuff. But I want to talk about this because you haven't been in the sport long, but in the time you have been in the sport, you've had absolutely cracking contests with every one of them really. Talk to us a little bit about going back to sort of the beginning of your journey with BKB, because I know before this, you had some gloved boxing contests as well. There was a little bit of that, but I think it's a very cool story about getting into the sport late, from a perspective, and already making waves and things like that. So, what was your initial inspiration when you thought, I want to ditch the gloves, I want to go in for BKB, and switch it up a bit, basically.
well, to be honest, I didn't want to do bare knuckle. Callan Harley, who also fights on BKB, he came to me one day and went, "Oh, you never guess what I've took." And I was like, "Go on." And he was like, "I've took a bare knuckle fight." And I was like, "Really? Oh, no, that's not for me. That's not something I want to do. I'll just stick to the gloves." He was like, "No, no, I'm going to do it anyway." So he took his first fight, and I didn't go to watch that. And then he took his second fight, and I went to the live event, and I was stood there in the O2, and I was just like, "I want a bit of this. I want a bit." And it just changed instantly. Watching him fight, watching the fight from the night, I was just like, I want this. I want a piece of this. I've got to at least try it once. I can't not pass it up. So I messaged Jim. I was like, "Look, I want to fight," and I kind of pestered at him for a couple of weeks. So I was like, I want to fight. I want to fight." And he got back to me, and he offered me. Originally, it was Gareth Hutchins, who had lost to Ellis Shepherd. So I watched the fight, and I was like, "Yeah, all right, I'll take that." And then that fell through, and I got somebody else that fell through, and I got somebody else and that fell through, and then I got Johnny Jones. And I remember turning up there first, and I felt a bit out of place at the way in, and I felt nerves were kicking in. I was shaking inside, and then the night came, and yeah, I stepped into that ring for the first time, and me and Johnny had a good first round, and it was building up to be a great fight as well. But obviously, I caught his lip in the first 15 seconds of the fight, split it open, and then he carried on the round, but the doctor called it. And yeah, after that night, you just can't get a better feeling. There is no better feeling. Like I took a gloved fight just after, um, and on my coach's home show, unlicensed, and I didn't enjoy it. I enjoyed it, but I took the mick a little bit because there was gloves on. I was just kind of just getting taking shots for the sake of it, and I wasn't moving like I should do, and I just yeah, it's just not the same. BKB is a tough sport. It's not for everybody. People call me crazy, but it's definitely for me. And yeah, so then I got offered Levici, and I was worried about Levici. I'd watched a couple of his fights, and I thought, oh, it's going to be a tough one. And then I went up against him, and I knew what I had to do to beat Levici. I had to box, and I had to outlast him because he'd only gone 2 rounds in BKB. And yeah, I knew that he was a power puncher and he wanted to try and knock me out. And yeah, it's just gone more and more I do it, the more I get that buzz for it. And yeah, I'm at home there. So the Ricci fight was a cracking fight, and my chin swollen up within the first round. But I definitely proved I got a chin on that night, I think.
You sure did. You sure did. In more ways than one. But no, they're all absolutely cracking fights so far. And it's good to give them a mention as well. A couple of things to get into here that I think will interest people. I mean, you've been quite open about being nervous and sort of having to manage that, before some of the fights. And I think that's interesting because a lot of people sort of don't go there. A lot of people don't get into that. They sort of say, "Oh no, I feel fine." But obviously, you're quite open about that. So how do you manage it? I mean, being new to the sport, switching over, you obviously love it, so I can, that comes over the camera, the passion that you have for the sport. But obviously, it is tough as it comes, and you're getting in there with, absolute killers. I mean, so really, really good guys. So how do you sort of stay sort of chilled out and centered and everything before a big fight like that?
I used the nerves really. Like I was told one time, nerves are good. Um, to not have nerves is it can be dangerous. You can make mistakes, you can be too overconfident. So I've learned to use the nerves. Like even when I was doing boxing, you still get nerves. And I've just learned to use them and go with the flow with them because it's all right to be nervous. You can be nervous in all walks of things in life. Do you know what I mean? Anything you do, new jobs, having kids. Um, so yeah, I've just learned to live with them and use them to my advantage. And it's just about trying to keep centered. Before a fight, I'm a bit all over the place. Like I get told by my coach all the time to sit down and chill, and I can't sit still. I'm constantly walking around, um, trying to loads of people, just keep it moving. But yeah, you just learn to work with them. I think if you try and bottle them up, it don't help. But if you just go with the flow, it
Yeah.
happens. And when that bell goes, they seem to just wash away.
Yeah, I have heard that from a few, like quite a few lads. But the reason I mention it as well as your own journey with fighting, something like that is quite good for a lot of fighters watching this or listening to this as well, especially if they're thinking about giving it a go or they're in like an earlier stage of their career, like they're sort of behind yourself. It gives them the idea, or actually, if I feel that way, it's not a bad thing. There's ways of working through it. It's like a little life lesson in there. So that's good to give that a mention as well. The other thing, obviously, you mentioned about adapting from gloves on to gloves off type of thing, and you mentioned about that transition. Now, I've heard a lot about this from speaking to different guys in BKB. That the punches come a lot faster, that the punches are obviously a lot sharper when they hit as well, and things of that nature. I'm not sure how many gloved fights you had or in total. So I've seen a few on YouTube, a couple, but we can get into that. But in terms of the transition. You obviously love the sport now. Was it like a difficult transition in the beginning, or did it just feel natural, like with the increased speed and like the differences? If you get where I'm coming from with this.
Yeah, no, it feels a lot more natural. You find it's a bit more controlled with your shots as well, because if you throw like you do with gloves on, you're going to end up breaking some hands.
Yeah.
You still damage your hands, of course, but with gloves, you've got that protection to be able to just throw whatever you can. You don't have to twist your hand over. You can catch in the wrong direction, or you can like catch a little finger and it's not going to hurt as much. Um, but it does. It just feels natural. Before boxing, I've been in a few scrapes as a lad, um, nights out and things like that. But I personally think being hit with a knuckle, and this is going to sound crazy, and people always call me crazy when I say it, but I think being hit with a knuckle hurts less than being hit with a glove.
Okay.
It's like a
That's
warm
cool.
sensation when you get hit with a knuckle. Like you get hit with a knuckle and it's like it's warm. You get hit with a
Yeah.
glove and it feels like your whole head shakes. Um, and it catches you here, but it hurts here. Whereas a knuckle, it hurts where it got hit. So you get hit in the eye, it hurts in the eye. You don't feel like you're getting a ricochet all the way through the back of your head.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. It's interesting to highlight it actually for the different ways, you know. Um, that's pretty cool actually. It's a pretty cool insight into because that's something the fans don't see as well. I mean, other fighters will know this, but like people watching the fight, they won't know that. So it's a really good insight into them. And yeah, okay. Obviously, one thing I do want to ask you about as well. Again, we were talking about this just now before we started recording, but like with your family and their reaction to you fighting and watching you fight and things like that. I don't always get into this with people, like you know, because it's personal. But with you, I think it's interesting because when I read an interview when I was preparing for this in one of the papers in your hometown, you were saying that some of them watch it, some of them don't. Just now, you were saying they all watch it now. I think if I've got that right. But talk to us a little bit about like the just not just them watching you fight, but just the reaction of like your family. You know, when you said you wanted to do bare knuckle, now you are actually doing it. Um, you know, what's the response been like from them all to the
So
process?
my partner is fully behind me in everything I do, and she does a bit of boxing herself. She runs a few classes for ladies in the community, and you know she is fully behind me, and no matter what I decide to do, and to be fair, she loves the sport. She's in my corner as well for the last two fights. And she prefers it in the corner. When she watched it from the crowd, she was a bit nervous about it. Couldn't control her emotions, but when she's there in the corner in the thick of it, she loves it. The kids, my eldest wants to follow me every time I go. She wants to go. She's always loved it. Um, my middle daughter, she's happy. The other two girls, they're happy, and my youngest was a bit funny. She was the one that was a bit funny at first, but after watching it and seeing me win a couple of fights, she's now like, into it as well. So they're all watching it. They all watch it live on the Fight app. Um, but that's important. Like they're all behind me, so with them behind me, I feel like I can take on anything. So yeah, if one of them didn't like it and didn't support me in it, it'd be a much difficult thing to complete.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, again, it's cool to get the sort of vibe of what's going on there because again, you know, it's something people don't see and when you talk to fighters, when I work with fighters, you hear all types of things from people being fully behind it to people being against it to like everything in between. So it's good to give that a mention. Obviously, in terms of your hometown as well, though, I mean, and like the support from your community, you know, when you were announcing you're going to do this, obviously you're building it up and things like that. You mentioned earlier some people are saying you're crazy and things like that. But I mean, what's the response like? Positive, negative? You know, from your hometown. I mean, you seem to have a lot of support on like on social media from what I've seen. But
Mm.
again, in your own words, how's that side of things going for you? For you?
Well, we seem to get a lot of support. We went for a baby scan yesterday, and my partner wanted to let them know, obviously, why I look like I do, and the midwife there actually knew about me and had actually read up about me, and was quite supportive in it. Whereas it's different from certain people. Some people don't agree with it. Some people do. Most people do agree with it, and they support me. But I also went to a hospital appointment for my hand, and the doctor that dealt with me, she thought it was a silly sport. She thought I was stupid for even doing it. So it all depends on what they feel about the sport. To be fair, but generally, I get really good support. Um, Everybody, I struggled to sell the maximum tickets on the first time because they were like, oh, well, didn't really want to get into it. But as the time's going on, people are wanting to come. They're pre-booking their tickets for the next fight. Um, yeah, it's good support all round, and I think it's bringing something to Peterborough as well. Between me and Callum, it's bringing something good and positive. No matter whether it's fighting or not, it's a professional sport, and it's bringing something to Peterborough. So slowly but surely, the people don't like it. I think they'll start to enjoy it as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, obviously, it's getting bigger and bigger as a sport as well. I mean, over the last few years, you know, we've seen it going from quite a small sort of thing that's not fully mainstream to being absolutely massive, and it's like all over the world. And everything like that. So I definitely think people are coming around to it, but it's quite cool as well to get like a feel for it in your hometown and like the impact you're having, being like the star of the show. Obviously in Callum as well. Give him a mention. Obviously, looking to the future plans and things like that now as well, and getting into like who you'd like to fight next, what your aims are. We've spent a bit of time talking about different aspects of it as it is now or looking back. But looking forward, starting with a real simple one, who would you like to fight next? Who are you aiming for? What's sort of lighting your fire?
My plan is, I know Scott's going for his world title in November, so I'm not sure on if he wins that. I'm pretty certain he's going to win that as well. He's a strong lad, but my plan is I want that British title. Um, if I've got to go up a category, I could do, but I want the 73. Um, I have been promised a rematch with a full camp. But you know me, I'll fight anybody. And if I've got to do another fight before I get another title shot, then that's fine. I'll do another fight. I'm not worried about anybody. There's a lot of good fighters in the sport, but I've proven not only to everybody that's watching, but I've proved to myself that I'm game, I'm ready, and I can take on anybody with the right camp.
Yeah.
So the plan is first is the British title, and then moving forward, hopefully I get a shot at the world title. But my main interest at the moment is that British title.
Yeah, that's cool. That's what's lighting your fire. I mean, I definitely think you'll get that, and I'm not just saying that like to be nice or whatever. I mean, definitely, seeing um, how you give it your all in a fight, seeing your style and things like that. I definitely think you can get the British and beyond. I think you've got a very very bright future in the sport. To be straight up about it, and like I say, not just saying it, but I really think there's a bright future ahead for yourself. Another thing, obviously, doing what you're doing, bare knuckle boxing, and being as sort of well known as you are, and your profile's growing. Do you feel that you inspire people, like in a sense of sort of inspiring people of what's possible in life? Because I know it might sound a bit strange, but when I look at you, I think that like coming into the sport at like a late age, tearing it up like you have in the last few fights, and sort of working your way up, like I say, having a bright future. I feel like for a lot of people that shows if you set your mind to something, you can do it, type of thing. But what are your thoughts on that? I know it's a little out of the box, but do you feel that you have that type of impact on people?
Do you know what? I hope so. I can't answer the question in the sense of do I, but I hope so. I inspire my partner. She's sitting there pointing at herself right now. I inspire her. I know that. Yeah, she's fighting hopefully in December if all goes well after giving birth. She wants to fight in December on boxing. Um, yeah, I inspire my kids. Um, they look up to me. It makes them want to push more in what they want to do. But yeah, no, I hope I can inspire anybody because whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter how hard you think it is. Anything's possible as long as you've got the heart and the brain to push yourself for it. And I don't mean brain in the sense of intelligence. I mean, if you put your mind to it and you put your heart to it, anything is possible. And I never used to believe that as a youngster. I used to hear people say it and famous people say it, and you used to be like, oh, yeah, but you've got this and you've got that and you've got loads of money. But it's true. And the more I fight and the more I'm doing well in it shows, I want this. And if I put my mind to it and put my heart to it, I'm going to achieve it. There's nothing going to stop me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a powerful message, and it's something I wanted to get into with you because of all the youngsters that watch my show and stuff like that as well. Whether it's up and coming fighters, whether it's people who, they can take the lessons like you've learned from fighting, they can apply it to anything. It's a very, very powerful message. One of the last things, or maybe the last thing to give a mention to, is obviously to give a shout out to your fans and your supporters because obviously the sport would be nothing without them. At the end of the day, I know we talked about them a little bit just now, but those people who buy tickets to watch you fight, those people who send messages of encouragement saying, oh, I know you'll win, and all the good stuff that people do. I am talking about loyal fans now, proper fans who stick by you and that. But if any of those people are watching this, what would you say to some of those people, to some of your supporters out there?
Do you know what? I appreciate you. Everything you do, the continued support. I appreciate you as much as you appreciate watching me. Um, and I just hope I can keep proving a point, and I can pave a way into the legacy books in BKB. And I'm going to keep going. So thank you very much for your support. And yeah, watch this space.
Amazing. Well, we've gotten into some good stuff today, mate. It's actually been it's been good, and we've hopefully given an insight into the fighting, but also like some of what you go through, like in a little bit with your mindset and the mindset it takes to get to like a high level. I definitely think you've got a bright future in the sport, and I definitely will say that when you get the British title or when you get whatever big thing comes next, we'll do another one of these and we'll do like an update for the fans. Because I definitely think you've got a bright future in the sport. But for now, thank you so much for your time. Hope you have a great evening, and it's been a pleasure, mate. I've enjoyed it.
Can I just say one more thing? I've said to my fans and the support, I just want to say a massive thank you to Barinda, Ian, and Cameron for being in my corner. Massive love to my partner, Sadie. And also thanks to my kids for supporting me as well. So I've got Riley, Faith, Summer, Casey, and Piper, and the little one on the way. Thank you. I appreciate you as much as I can.
Yeah. That's a nice message, though. Honestly, that's a sound message that is, because, like you say, without those people behind you, it's very hard to get anywhere. So, absolutely. I also say good luck to your missus on her fight as well. The one you mentioned just now, end of the year. Yeah, good luck to her. That's very, very cool. But yeah, thank you again, mate. You have a good evening. All
Brilliant.
right.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.